Welcome, dear learners. In the previous lecture, we have discussed the product and its different levels. In this lecture, we will discuss about the product life cycle, commonly abbreviated as PLC. The product life cycle refers to the distinct stages a product goes through from its initial production in the market to its eventual decline or withdrawal. Just like living organisms, products too can be seen as having a lifespan. Why is understanding this life cycle so important? We know that it helps marketers make better, more informed decisions regarding pricing, promotions, and product improvements at each specific stage. The PLC typically has 5 main stages: introduction, growth, maturity, decline, and sometimes an optional fifth stage, rebirth or product revitalization. Let's look at how these play out in rural markets. First is the introduction stage. In rural markets, this stage is often slower and more challenging compared to urban areas. Why? Because rural consumers are generally more cautious and conservative when it comes to trying new, unfamiliar products. At this stage, the company has to invest heavily in awareness building. This isn't just about advertising, it's about grassroots efforts like live demonstrations, leveraging local influencers like village elders or teachers, using traditional media like wall painting or folk media like street plays, and employing mobile vans to reach remote areas. For example, when solar powered lights were first introduced in villages, extensive local demonstrations were necessary to explain how they worked and build trust. Distribution is another significant hurdle. As companies struggle to reach small, scattered markets often plagued by weak infrastructure. Following introduction, if the product successfully addresses a need, we enter the growth stage. Once rural consumers are convinced about a product's usefulness, perhaps by seeing others in their community use it and benefit from it, word of mouth spreads quickly. This is a very powerful force in rural markets. During this stage, sales start to rise and product acceptance improves, especially if the product is affordable and genuinely solves a real problem. For instance, a low cost washing machine with a larger load capacity could gain rapid popularity among joint families in villages. You will see new customers from nearby villages starting to buy the product, and local retailers become more willing to stock it. Marketers often use this momentum to begin expanding their reach into other similar rural regions. Next comes the maturity stage. At this point, the product has become well known and is commonly used across many rural households. Almost every potential customer in the target segment has either purchased the product or is at least aware of it. Sales reach their highest point, but the rate of growth significantly slows down and the market begins to saturate. A key challenge in the maturity stage is increased competition. Many competitors, including local players, may have entered the rural space with cheaper or similar products, often leading to intense price wars. For instance, established branded torches might face stiff competition from local brands offering similar utility at lower cost. To navigate this, marketers must now focus on strategies like adding extra features, improving after sale service, or offering value packs to maintain consumer interest and defend their market share. Eventually, most products enter the decline stage. As time passes and new or better alternatives enter the market, the older product starts to see declining interest and consequently falling sales. This can happen due to various reasons: technological changes making the old product obsolete, shifts in consumer preferences, or the availability of cheaper or more efficient substitutes. A good example is how dry cell battery operated radios lost popularity with the arrival of more convenient solar radios or mobile phones that came with inbuilt radio features. During this stage, companies face tough decisions whether to discontinue the product entirely, significantly reduce its price to clear out stock, or perhaps target only a specific niche segment that still uses it. Production and marketing costs are typically minimized to maintain whatever probability is left for as long as possible. However, decline isn't always the end of the story. There is an optional stage some products might experience, that is, rebirth or product revitalization. Sometimes companies decide to revive old products instead of letting them fade away. This involves giving them a new lease of life with updated features, fresh new packaging, or entirely different marketing messages designed to suit changing rural needs and aspirations. This is also known as an extension or revitalization stage. For instance, traditional herbal remedies or Ayurvedic products that might have been declining could be relaunched with modern scientific backing, contemporary branding, and new delivery formats to attract health conscious rural and urban consumers. This stage requires significant innovation and investment, but can reopen market opportunities if executed thoughtfully. So, we have journeyed through the 5 stages of product life cycle: introduction, growth, maturity, decline, and the last one, rebirth or revitalization stage. We have specifically noted that in the rural markets, this cycle often unfolds at a slower pace and presents unique challenges, but also unique opportunities at each turn. A clear understanding of these stages is absolutely vital for effective strategic planning. Now, a critical question arises. Knowing these stages, what specific strategies can companies adopt at each phase of the product life cycle to maximize their success in rural markets? Let's break down these strategies stage by stage, starting with the introduction stage. As we have discussed, this phase in rural markets is slow and demanding. The primary focus here must be on creating awareness and educating rural consumers about the product. The question arises, how can this be achieved? The answer can be effective tactics include live demonstrations in villages, using mobile vans to showcase the product, organizing engaging nukkad nataks or street plays, conducting school-based campaigns if relevant, and leveraging trusted local influencers like teachers or health workers. Since traditional media penetration might be low in many rural areas, fostering word of mouth is absolutely critical. Companies should also consider offering introductory pricing, free samples, or trial packs, like the very successful 1 rupee sachet, to encourage first time use. Crucially, the communication must clearly explain how the product works, its benefits, and how it specifically solves a rural need. Think about the initial efforts for solar lanterns or water purifiers. They required extensive demonstrations to build trust. Once the product gains traction and enters the growth stage, demand begins to rise, and positive word of mouth helps expand its reach to nearby villages. During this exciting phase, companies should focus on several key strategies. First, expand distribution channels. This means partnering with local retailers, ensuring presence in hearts, the vibrant weekly rural market, and working through established rural sales network like HUL's well-known Project Shakti. It's vital to ensure consistent product availability and optimize supply chain to serve even remote areas effectively. Local language advertising, colorful packaging, and simple visuals continue to be important for strengthening brand recognition. Companies can also seize this opportunity to introduce new product variants or additional features to attract different segments within the rural population. For example, after basic mobile phones found acceptance, companies started adding features like FM radio, torchlights, and regional language menus to boost their appeal during the growth stage. In the maturity stage, the product has achieved deep penetration in rural markets and is widely accepted. However, growth slows down as most potential consumers have already adopted the product and competition intensifies. To stay ahead, companies must now focus sharply on brand differentiation. This can be achieved through product upgrades, emotional branding campaigns that resonate with rural values, and loyalty building activities. They might launch new variants or even premium versions of the product to retain consumer interest and cater to evolving aspirations. A classic example is how Lifebuoy Regular was extended to include Lifebuoy Gold and Lifebuoy Active. Another useful strategy is product bundling, like offering a free item with the main product to enhance value perception. Companies may also redesign packaging to give it a fresh look or run festival based promotions that align with local celebrations. The primary goal during this stage is to extend the product's life cycle and defend market share by continuously engaging the rural customer. As newer and better products inevitably enter the market, older ones begin to experience a gradual drop in demand, signaling the decline stage. It's worth noting that in the rural market, this decline is often slower than in urban areas because rural consumers can be slower to shift from familiar products unless there is a very clear and compelling benefit. However, technological advances or significant changes in preferences can accelerate this. At this stage, companies need to make some tough decisions, either phase out the product systematically, reduce its price drastically to sell off remaining stock, or perhaps identify and target specific niche users who may still have a preference for it. Marketers might use to clear remaining inventory through heavy discounts or use very low cost promotional tactics to sustain minimal demand. If the product is no longer viable, it's often better to withdraw it strategically, ideally while guiding consumers toward newer alternatives from the company's portfolio. Finally, let's consider the optional reverse or extensive stage. Instead of simply phasing out a product, a company might choose to revive or extend its life. This involves repositioning, redesigning, or rebranding the product to meet new or emerging rural needs. A good example is Dabur Hajmola. Originally targeted primarily at children, it was later promoted effectively among adults as a digestive aid, significantly expanding its market. Companies can also bring traditional or declining products back to life by imbibing them with modern benefits or connecting them to current trends like health, wellness, or convenience. This might involve new packaging, leveraging digital promotion where appropriate, and adjusting pricing. The core idea is to give the product a new purpose or identity that resonates with the changing aspirations of rural consumers, potentially tapping into new segments or previously unserved areas. So, dear learners, what is the overarching message here? Effective product lifecycle management in rural markets demands stage-specific strategies, but also a keen understanding that rural India is not a single uniform entity. There is immense diversity. While one product might be in the maturity stage in a more developed rural region of, say, Punjab or Maharashtra, it might be in the introduction stage in the parts of Odisha or Bihar. Therefore, companies must segment rural markets carefully and tailor their strategies based on regional development levels, consumer readiness, and local infrastructure. Success in rural markets rarely comes from short term campaigns. Instead, it is built on consistent engagement, continuous product innovation that addresses real needs, sensitivity to pricing, and the establishment of deep rooted, reliable distribution networks. Now, dear learners, to bring our discussion to a close, let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from this unit. We have emphasized the critical importance of product strategy in rural marketing, highlighting the need for culturally relevant, affordable, and user friendly products tailored to the unique landscape of rural India. We have learned that rural markets typically exhibit a slower progression through the product lifecycle stages due to factors like low awareness, distribution challenges, and cautious consumer behavior. Therefore, products must be deeply contextualized with a strong emphasis on acceptability, simplicity, and perceived value. We identified the 5 levels of a product: core benefit, basic product, expected product, augmented product, and potential product, which help marketers design offerings truly aligned with rural consumers' needs. We saw powerful examples of innovative adaptations from companies like LG, Philips, and Cadbury. Furthermore, we detailed how each PLC stage requires tailored strategies, from awareness campaigns in introduction to expansion in growth, loyalty building in maturity, and careful management in decline, with a possibility of product revitalization. Ultimately, this lecture has stressed that rural marketing success depends on deep consumer insights, adaptive product design, and persistent sensitive engagement that respects regional diversity. I hope this session has provided you with a solid understanding of these concepts. Dear learners, we will meet in the next video lecture to discuss any new topic related to rural marketing. Till then, happy learning. Thank you so much for listening.